So Murfee is actually of a select elite group here because Murfee was actually born here on the farm, and he was born in 2016. So it makes him, he's about 8.5 years old. And his mom came here. We did not know she was pregnant. That his mom is Mabel, and Mabel's still here. Mabel came to us because she was in her 30s, and she was actually housed at a place where her intact male sons were, and they wanted to get her out of there. The sons were very rough on her. They needed to get her out into a better situation. So anyway, we agreed to take her. We had room for a donkey here. We took Mabel in. Nobody expected she was pregnant, and she was here for actually several months. And we were trying to have a veterinary procedure done with her where she needed to be sedated, and she was very difficult to have her feet trimmed and everything. She needed to be sedated first. So our vet came, was trying to sedate her, when all of a sudden I saw this kick come out of her belly. And I was like, wait, did anybody see that? And the vet looked at me and said, I thought I just saw something. Could she be pregnant? And I was like, well, she's not supposed to be, but anyway, she was. So the problem for Murfee has, you think of him born here. He's been loved since the day he was born. He's here in the sanctuary where he has everything he needs. But yet, Murfee still has a lot of psychological trauma, and he has a lot of special needs, actually. And the reason for that is two things. One, genetics are kind of against him. His father is also his brother, and his mother is also his grandmother. There's a lot of inbreeding and genetic components, and that are not so great, and that's been shown to cause a lot of behavioral issues. And he has a lot of personality traits that are very difficult. He's a sweet guy, but he can also be extremely opinionated. He can be very difficult to learn new things. It's very hard for him. Little ADHD in there for sure. So he's difficult. But the other complication he had at his birth is mom gave birth, and we're standing right there. She did a wonderful job. And again, you're talking about a donkey who was like in her early 30s, and that's outrageous to have a baby at that time in your life. So she gave birth to him, cleaned him up, and then said, "These all yours. I'm done." And she flat out refused him. She tried to kill him. I mean, she would have tried. She would have, kept going. We had to take him away from her. We did a lot of intervening. We didn't just give up and say, "Oh, geez, she rejected the full." Our vet came. We sedated her. A lot of times, it's just getting him to, nurse for the first time and all of that. And that sometimes they get through that. But we tried for hours. Our vet was here for hours into the late night, into like after midnight, and nothing we did helped. So we ended up having to, for his safety, we had to house him. We had to divide her stall in a way that they could touch each other, but she couldn't kill him through the stall. And then he would be hand taken in there multiple times a day to nurse. And somebody would hold her, somebody would hold him, and Mabel did allow us to do that. But that's not a normal upbringing for anybody, and he didn't get that kind of nurturing, that motherly nurturing by any means from her. Foals that are orphaned, even though he wasn't totally orphaned, he was emotionally orphaned. He still got all of the right things. He got her colostrum, he got the milk, he got all of that. But what he didn't get was the socialization that a mom would teach a foal. And he didn't get that, the warmth and compassion from her. So he had humans for that, but there's still something missing for them. So foals that are raised like that are tend to be very difficult. They also see humans as their equals and playmates, and they don't have the right physical respect for humans. So when I say that, he doesn't mean to be mean, but he thinks of us as one of him. So, donkeys body slam each other. They play rough. And so he was starting to try to do that with humans, which you can't do. We were very fortunate at that point that we had a gelding, a donkey gelding, come in named Noah. And Noah ended up being, we called him Uncle Noah, because he ended up being the perfect companion for Murphy. And Noah was everything Murphy needed. He was solid enough, because Murphy's a big boy. He was solid enough to hold his own with Murphy physically, and he gave Murphy a lot of play and companionship, and he was great with him, but he also gave him a really secure boundary. Like, this is unacceptable behavior. You can't just come up and kick me. You can't come up and body slam me. You can't treat people like that. And he taught him how to be a donkey. And we were really lucky with that. So Murphy was several months old when that happened. But Noah became his surrogate. Um, and they lived many years together. So if Murphy was born in 2016, Noah must have come here at probably in 2017 in the spring, and because Murphy was born in the fall. So, and then Noah unfortunately just passed away in fall of 2024, and left Murphy completely bereft. Murphy That was such a huge loss for Murphy, and he still to this day is struggling with that. We're still trying to help him through that, but grief really overtook him, and he became very angry. Actually, not only did he lose his best buddy, but just a few days after um, Noah passed, we lost another donkey named Xander, who he was also really close to, and he was stalled right next to him. So those were his two stall companions, one on either side of him, and it just unraveled him. So we've been really working with Murphy a lot, trying to find his space. We've tried putting him. We have lots of other donkeys to put him with, and we have not found a group that he can go with. He's a bigger sized donkey, and he gets really aggressive towards the other donkeys, and it's a problem. He's his own worst enemy, but it's helping him emotionally through this trauma for him, because it's bringing up his abandonment from when he was born, and it's like he's processing both things. And I've been very aware of that working with him from an animal communication perspective. But you can't just say to him, hey, it's okay. He needs to actually process it, and he needs to go through with stuff that for him, he thought life was going to be 25 years with Noah, or 30 years with Noah. And actually for us, we thought that too. So it was really a devastating loss. And he's, like I said, it's like reliving, it's a double loss for him, because it just brings up all of that with his abandonment issues. And animals do have issues like that, just like we do, just like humans do. And they process just like humans do. Only they tend to process quicker than we do as humans. But I always say that, and having somebody, I have a social work background, so therapy is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I have had therapy, but I noticed that what takes humans years of therapy, the animals trust better. They trust quicker. So when they get something, they get it. They don't just go, well, I don't know, maybe I'm making that up. And what if I can't try, how do I know that's the real thing? They just like step into it when they get it. But they still have to process emotions just like we do. Right now, we may have found a combination, at least for the time being, that's working. And it was kind of an unusual pairing. And it was actually Dr. Christine, our in-house veterinarian, who came up with the idea. And we were like, it's worth trying it. Let's see what happens. So he's right now going out with Mr., who is a retired standardbred, and he's in his 30s. He's in his mid-30s, who has a lot of foot problems and aging problems. He's just very stiff, but he's a big boy, and he's also a very kind boy. Mr. just lost his companion last year and is all at odds. And he has not been able to find a niche here where he's really happy. Like, he goes outside. He used to live outside all the time, and then he came here. He has a stall in the barn, and he spent most of his time in there recuperating with feet problems and stuff like that. But anyway, he lost his companion, and now when he goes out, we've paired him up with our blind horse, Molly. Molly actually is a horse that does, her eyes have been removed. She was blind, totally blind, for many, many years, way before we removed her eyes. So I need to say that because if she shows up in the video and you see a horse with no eyes, you'll think that's pretty radical. But actually, she had a disease in her eyes from 15 years she's been blind, or whatever it is. I think it is 15 years. Um, and her eyes, though, started to become very painful. They were atrophying and sinking back into her skull, and they were causing her constant pain. And actually, when we had them removed, she became a whole different horse. I mean, she's pain-free. She is a highly functional blind pony. So we can lead her anywhere on the property, and she's been this way, all along. We can lead her anywhere, and we once we walk her around a pasture or a paddock, banging on the we walk her and knock on the fence as we go. She learns her boundaries very quickly. You'll see her out galloping around. She trots around in the pasture. She rolls. She does all the things, and she's very savvy. I mean, you would swear she sees. I mean, it's really amazing to watch her navigate, including in the barn in our arena. You can let her out in there, and she navigates just fine. She doesn't run into anything. She's amazing. So very high functioning. So she also has now in her whatever 15 years here, she's had 3 companions that she's outlived, and she can be really aloof and very emotionally distant as well. And part of it is she, keeps losing everybody. And part of it's her personality. She's not really. She likes being around the other horses, but she doesn't hang on to relationships like that too much. But so she was a perfect companion for Mister, because Molly has Cushing's disease and she has some other issues. Neither of Mister nor Molly can go out on pasture all day. They have to be limited. And the donkeys can't go out on pasture all day either. So it became a group that all had the same metabolic needs. And if we could pair them all together, would have made would make a great trio. The other thing is, in reality, Mister is a lot older than Molly, and we knew this when we paired them up, that the chances are very high that Molly will outlive Mister as well. And so putting a third one in there would be helpful, so that they have, there's more of a cushion there. We try to be aware of that here all the time with our population. So we tried Murfee, and so far it's going very well. He seems to be holding his own. I'm watching Mister schooling him. I just was watching out the window a little while ago. Mister will kind of walk up to him and just kind of very slowly turn around, and not to kick him, but just to say, yeah, look, buddy, because although Murfee is a big donkey, he's tiny compared to Mister. So, but it is not with threatening. I love it, because that's how Noah used to be with him. Noah was like a firm boundary, but not nasty. And Mister's doing the same thing with him, and he's giving him that structure again, and that's really what he was missing. He's a little being that needs a lot of structure, and he's still learning. So it seems to be going well. I think people forget. We see this a lot in a sanctuary with long-term care. We're very, very aware of the relationships that the horses have with each other. Not just the horses; it's also the cats. But the horses are big, and they live a lot longer, and they don't always like each other either. But we are very aware. Like, we have a horse, Shawnee, who takes care of. He's been paired with old horses all the time ever since he was a little guy. When he was young, and he's now in his 20s. But he has lost so many companions over the years. So we always try to make sure, because he's great with the old guys. He's very gentle with them. He's fabulous with them, and he has physical ailments himself. So he's good to be. He can't be running around with the younger horses. So it's really good to have him with the older horses. And he's a great companion. But we're also very aware of the toll that takes on him. He was in a herd of horses when he first came into the bigger barn here. And we've had Shawnee since he was 12 hours old. He came in as an orphan foal. His mother died giving birth to him. And so we bottle raised him, but he also was raised by a nurse mare that took him in. She couldn't nurse him. She was a dry mare. But she taught him manners, and she let him live in the stall with her, and she treated him like a foal. You would not know she wasn't her mother. We did the bottle feeding, she did the raising, and that was a great compromise. I mean, we all had this mutual agreement, and it was like super cool, because he benefited from that in a tremendous way. So he can also be a little difficult, but he's good. But he's lost 8 companions to old age in his lifetime here, and that's a lot. That's I mean, that's an enormous load to carry, and he carries it. But we need to be very cognizant and understand that how he processes that grief is important. He processes it easier, but you can't ever think, oh, he'll be fine, and just blow it off, because that's not fair to him. So he's out with our oldest horse right now, Jose, who's in his also in his mid 30s. And Shawnee, Jose is so bonded to Shawnee. If Shawnee gets out of sight, if Shawnee lies down in his stall and Jose can't see him, he starts freaking out. And I'll hear him in the middle of the night whinnying and whinnying, and I look on the cameras and it's like he's just lying down. He's okay. Um, but uh, so we added 2 horses to that herd to make sure that Shawnee would still have somebody else. And who knows? You never know what's going to happen. But you can't just keep putting Shawnee through that either. So we try to be. There's so many aspects and so many variables to think of here when we're putting animals together. It's easy to judge somebody, human or animal, by their actions. It's easy to judge somebody. Murfee is a donkey that people could dislike really easily because he's difficult and he's pushy and he's stubborn and he doesn't always want to do what you want him to do. But he needs to be worked with through that, which we have somebody working with him now. One of our caretakers, Kylie, is working with him and teaching him things and doing some training things with him. And that's helping give him that. Again, he's getting more routine. He's learning something. He's getting a purpose again, and he's finding himself again. What it's taught me is you really need to take the bigger picture in consideration when you're dealing with these animals, because it's not at face value. So think of if you met Murfee for the first time, you would have an impression of him as being a not really nice donkey. But that's not the case. He's actually just dealing with this huge emotional load right now, and we need to help him through that. So that to me is an eye-opening observation that, every animal that comes in here teaches me something. But he's one that we also couldn't reach him right away. So you want to take his pain away. We knew he was going to have a problem when Noah died. We knew Noah was dying because he had cancer, and we had not a lot of warning, but we had some warning. We knew what was happening. And all of us from the get-go were like, when he goes, what's going to happen with Murfee? So, but you can't replace Noah. And he still needs to grieve Noah. And it's a real human thing to think. I mean, we got Clarence. Clarence looks a lot like Noah, actually. Same size, same kind of donkey, same presence. And we were like, oh, that'll be perfect. And guess what? Perfect didn't work because Clarence and Murfee don't like each other. And so they were attacking each other in a not good way. We had to separate them. But we thought we found the ideal companion because we thought it replaced what Noah was to Murfee. And we were wrong. And it's okay. Clarence needed a place anyway. So he needed a place to land. He came from a cruelty case. So, and Clarence has taken up with our minis, with our 2 mini horses and mini donkey that came in as a threesome. Clarence now is the 4th. And who'd go figure that? We didn't think, that we would put a bigger donkey in with the little minis, but he's great with them. And I think he thinks he's a mini. He has like a small opinion of himself. But all of these factors go in to, you really have to look past what you think is right. My hope is that Murfee will find himself, because he's a little lost soul. He doesn't know who he is. Although I'm starting to watch that change, and you can start to see him blossom a little bit with Noah. And Noah was great with him, but he kind of just was able to coast. He wasn't accountable for anything for himself. And he never really tried to see, who he was. Noah was very advanced. He was like an advanced soul and a teacher. He was a huge loss here. And he was my heart donkey. Noah was just a fabulous, fabulous donkey. But he was a teacher, and he knew who he was. But Murfee was like, he can be the teacher, I'll just hang out. And he was just a rough, tough little kid that didn't want to be accountable for who he is. Now life changed in a big way for him. And what I'd like to see for him is that he finds out who he is. And he's finding that. I'm watching that happen. It's hard to watch. It's painful to watch somebody all at loose ends. It's painful when you watch a human go through that. And you can't do something to alleviate that process. They have to go through it. But you can support them in the process. And it's very same as with the animals as it is with humans with that.